Within that statement, you would help us with time if you will tell us, particularly the new candidates, what would you bring to the current board that would advantageous to the Preston County system?
Good evening. Thank you for having this forum and giving us all the opportunity to speak to you tonight. I'm a Preston County native. I've lived in Timberlake all of my life, and I went through our school system from kindergarten all the way through my high school graduation. And I've always been passionate about education, starting in elementary school with excellence awards and going all the way through now, as I was one of 16 who was chosen for a full tuition scholarship at NC Central School of Law, which is my current day job. I have an associate's degree in criminal justice from PCC, a bachelor's degree in forensic psychology from Southern New Hampshire University, and a master's degree in political science from UNC Chapel Hill. I have also tutored on all levels from elementary school through college. And I have served in leadership roles in a variety of organizations in school, church, and in our community, including the United Way Community Investment Team, which allocates the year's budget. Through these and other organizations, I bring over 10 years of experience in budgeting, event planning, and community organization. Now that I've told you a little bit about my commitment to education and my commitment to the community, let's talk about the issues. Although the board does not control charter schools, they were recently addressed by Colonel Brooks, so before I move on, I will briefly touch on them. With education funding, the money follows the student. There is an allotted per pupil amount, which the school system had to send to the charter schools, which the students in their district attend. This money follows the student until enrollment numbers are established. Once that happens, when charter schools send students back to the school system, the money does not come back. That's where the problem lies, when we end up with more students and less money. So to return to my points, the state sets the education budget, which is then distributed to the county according to population, and then the county commissioners get to decide how much of our county budget is added to that. As a small county, we simply don't have the tax base to make up for the short straw that we get from the state. And even if all the schools in Preston County start with equal funding, because of the different populations at each school, there are big differences in parents' ability to contribute their time, transportation, and money to fundraisers and other school functions. That's one reason why we have different resources in different schools. For example, in North Elementary, they have 8-year-old textbooks that don't cover Common Core, which they're required to teach. So the teachers have to go look for resources on the internet, and due to copy rations, they can't print off as many copies as they would need to teach the students. Some students didn't even get to do practice work at the school last year. And this is a problem for two reasons, the internet resources is. One is that a lot of the students in that area don't have internet access at home. So it's difficult to try to use these internet resources when you can't make copies and they can't access them. As a member of the board, I will prioritize what teachers and students' needs and keep open communication with them. A vote for me, Paulina Lopez, is a vote to equip our teachers with the supplies and assistance they need to give our students an equal opportunity for success. Thank you.
Some of the citizens think that our school system lacks diversity sensitivity. If elected, what would you do to implement diversity sensitivity in the school system? Make it a two-part question. One of the major problems school faces today is teachers' turnover. If elected, what would you do to try to retain teachers? And not only teachers, but our school system is made up of many other employees.
As for diversity sensitivity, how do we combat all the discriminatory influences in the media that are affecting our young students, and especially the youngest ones who are in their formative years, developing their concept of the world? We do that by starting early. We need to educate our students about equal opportunities and equal abilities regardless of age, race, gender, religion, or any other aspect of an individual. As for in staff, we need to make sure that while we focus on continuing education, continuing training, that we do have somewhere in our professional development, somewhere in our training, sessions about diversity sensitivity to make sure that everyone is mindful. Not necessarily that there is discriminatory behavior there, but to make sure that everyone is mindful of the things that they say, the things that they address, and mindful of what comes out of the student as well, to recognize when there is a problem and something that needs to be addressed. Having more diverse teachers and staff absolutely will help to instill that mindset of equality in the young children. As for teacher turnover and turnover of other employees, I've spoken to many of our teachers since I started my campaign in February to try and get as much information, as much feedback from them as I can about what they think that the needs are of our county. And some of the teachers I spoke to are ones who have recently left our school system for our neighboring counties. And I was especially interested to ask them why. And something that I heard repeatedly, which was disappointing, is that there's an issue with support. Some of the teachers complained about not being able to, feeling that they have to make an appointment to talk to their administrator, feeling that they don't have the support to turn to when there's an issue. And I think we can correct that by encouraging our administrators to set some sort of office hours like the teachers do for the students. There has to be, we have to make it clear that there is support and there needs to be a designated time for it where they will not be turned away. And as for the budget, I remember hearing from Mrs. O'Coffer with the Teachers Association that because of the budget cuts that coming down from the state, of course, that we have not replaced teachers' assistants and other support staff when they retire, and we need to make sure that we keep that support staff in so that people will want to come because they feel their job is secure, and so that people will want to stay because they know they have the support.
If elected, you will be responsible for selecting a new superintendent for our county. I would like to know a little bit about what you think the qualification of that person should be.
I also think that Mr. Holloman is wonderful and an excellent example. I want to tell you a little something about what the superintendent does. The superintendent, with the help of central office, is responsible for gathering information and presenting to the board plans for approval in a variety of things, a majority of things really, including budgetary decisions, policy changes, and hiring of personnel. The superintendent acts in a managerial capacity, and as such, it's imperative that we as a new board select a superintendent who has experience in making budgeting, policy, and hiring decisions, as well as experience in the educational field. This experience can come from a variety of places, be it his or her own educational background, managerial experiences in other fields, or experience in making those decisions on a school level, such as a principal. Now, as for the educational experience, although experience in the public education sector and in charter schools certainly is helpful and makes someone qualified, experience in public education is definitely preferable, and I would think that a good superintendent candidate should have at least some of their educational experience in the public education sector, as there are, as some of the others have mentioned, different funding, different peculiarities to the system that I believe a superintendent should understand before they step up to the plate for that task. The superintendent is also, in many respects, the face of our school system. So, as for personality traits, a superintendent should work well with others, demonstrate strong leadership skills and effective communication, and should be as passionate about learning and education as all of us candidates are.